On BigCTV episode 4, we have a lot of reviews to go over. We're going to be reviewing Spring Breakers, R.I.P.D, the new album from Sick Puppies, Connect, and Pokemon Black version 2. Yes, I know that last one's kind of old, but I just beat it, so I'm going to review it anyway. We're also going to do a next-gen talk. BigCTV. Let's hit it. Hello everyone, welcome to BigCTV once again. My name is Chris, aka Big C, and this is episode 4 of the brand new series. Hope you've enjoyed everything we've done so far. We're just getting started, still working out the kinks. Before we get into this episode, especially because we have the most reviews I've ever put in a single episode, I'd like to talk a little bit about our new updated review set. I've decided to update how we do reviews, make it a little more specific. So with each grade and with each alteration on each grade, there's going to be a different word that describes the grade that it got. So, for instance, B is good, or B plus is very good. A is, I think it was excellent. Awesome, sorry. A minus is excellent, and an A plus is outstanding. There are different words that describe each of the grades. So there'll be at least a little bit of a variation between A plus and A minus, etc., etc. We're also going to add in code words. We're not going to use them necessarily on every review, but we'll try to whenever we can. That we use for giving you an idea of what you should do, whether you should buy a game when it comes out, rent it, or don't bother, or go see a movie as soon as it comes out, or wait, that kind of stuff. So we're going to be testing out our new system tonight on BigCTV. Hope you enjoy the reviews. We've got 4 video reviews we're going to go over, so let's get to it. I'm going to shut up and let the reviews do the talking. Let's start things off with a somewhat controversial and very interesting film. Those who do not like skimpy outfits and whatnot may want to turn away for this next review. We're going to review Harmony Kane's Spring Breakers. At first glimpse, Spring Breakers appears to be a movie that, well, is barely a movie and more of a porno. To be completely honest, it kind of is. It's not exactly a film that everybody's going to be dying to go see. It's mostly going to appeal to guys who, you know, enjoy seeing hot girls take their tops off. That's actually the vast majority of this movie. It's about 5, I believe they're college students, although it doesn't really explain much about them, who decide they want to go to St. Petersburg, Florida for a spring break. To do that, they rob a restaurant and end up getting into a life of crime when their little adventures on spring break get them into trouble. They end up meeting up with a drug dealer slash gangster. His name is Alien, and is played by James Franco, and team up with him to pull off some heists and go really into the dark. This movie is interesting. That's really the best word to describe it. The big thing that you'll notice right off the bat is this is actually more of an art film than a serious movie. There's a lot of really cool camera angles and color schemes and all kinds of things that film buffs and art buffs will especially like. And of course there's lots of nudity, which is what perverted people or people who just want to, you know, watch a lot of bouncing may enjoy. However, despite that, the plot is interesting, and you do want to see where this is going. It's a film that you may not be initially super interested in the content, but you at least want to know what's going to happen. You're curious. it does continue to keep your curiosity. The ending of the movie is a little out there and kind of crazy, but it's a decent film. Overall, Spring Breakers is an interesting film. It's definitely not one you're going to bring your girlfriend, or definitely not one to show small children, but adults, especially adult men, may enjoy seeing attractive women. One thing I do want to mention, though, is that this film does not accurately depict the city of St. Petersburg. I've lived there for several years, and it doesn't really showcase the city. It does show off some landmarks, and was actually filmed in most of it on location in St. Petersburg. However, that's not what St. Petersburg is like. There's no gangsters. It's not a crime-filled city or anything like that. And you don't see crazy parties like that on the beach all the time. So, just a heads up for those of you who may think, oh, that's what St. Pete's like. It's not. Anyway, we are going to award Spring Breakers a B. Alright, that was our video review of Spring Breakers. Next up, we're going to be doing another music video review. This is of Sick Puppies' new album, their first one that came out since 2009. It's called Connect. Take a look and a listen.
I had a plan and it made God laugh. It didn't work, should've checked on that. I hit the wall cause I lived too fast. I didn't know it could hurt that bad.
Australian rock band Sick Puppies have had a pretty interesting rise to fame. They were a band who was essentially discovered on YouTube and had a hit single, All the Same, from their first album blow up on the website. Their second album, entitled Tripolar, did a little better overseas, and several songs became quite big hits, including the hit songs Street Fighter that appeared in the Street Fighter IV soundtrack, and a couple other heavy rock songs. They released a new album this year, which has been heavily anticipated considering their last album came out in 2009. The new album, Connect, attempts to do some new sounds, and some of them work, some of them not quite as much. The result is an album that, although has pretty varied sound, sounds a little uneven and doesn't seem to be quite as good as their previous efforts. There are some pretty stellar tracks, though, that showcase the hard rock and edge. Probably the most unique track is the title track, Connect, which goes for more of a Mumford & Sons acoustic sound, and the sound really does work for Sick Puppies. Although the band is pretty good at masking their actual accents, they are an Australian rock band. You can't really tell that right off the bat, but if you listen to their interviews especially, you can. Overall, Sick Puppies Connect is a solid album that may not be as good as their previous efforts, but is still very much worth a listen. Top tracks include Walking Away, There's No Going Back, and Connect.
I wanna connect with you over the oceans and back to the truth. I wanna connect with you.
We award Sick Puppies Connect a B-, or decent. Okay, so our next review is of a movie that just came out. And I actually saw it before really any reviews were posted on it. So none of the reviews have tainted my view in any way, and you'll see why when you see my review score. This is of the brand new film starring Jeff Bridges and Ryan Reynolds, R.I.P.D, or Rest in Peace Department. At first glimpse, R.I.P.D may seem like a Men in Black ripoff. And to be completely honest, it kind of is. The whole idea of having a cop who gets killed in action die and join this supernatural police force who's in charge of taking souls that escape judgment and capturing them and taking them down. Sounds pretty Men in Black-like. And of course, the whole crazy dynamic of the rookie, the hotshot, and then the experienced but kind of crackpot veteran. Yep, sounds a lot like Men in Black. Luckily, R.I.P.D. has some very interesting lead characters that seem to make the film a little different, at least enough to make it more enjoyable and less of a pure Men in Black ripoff. Ryan Reynolds does a great job as being a lead actor. Unfortunately, he can't seem to get a break when he's doing lead acting roles, and unfortunately this latest film doesn't seem to be the trick. His sidekick, however, played by Jeff Bridges, is absolutely hysterical. Bridges almost goes unchained in this film. He plays an old Western sheriff who kind of goes nuts and uses a lot of Old West terminology. However, he's a crack shot and definitely knows what he's doing. The dynamic between these two is really what sells the movie. Bridges is absolutely crazy, and Reynolds does a good job of playing off of Bridges' zaniness. Overall, the film, although it does have some pretty poor special effects, doesn't look terrible. The plot is enjoyable, and the action is pretty solid. You're mostly going to be seeing this for the dynamics between the two leads and the fact that it's a decent action comedy. It may not be the best film, and it certainly does take a few pages at least from the Men in Black series, but R.I.P.D. is a film that it's worth a watch. We award R.I.P.D. a B-, or decent. Alright, so our last review is of a game that came out last year. We're only reviewing it now just because I beat it, and there might be a few people who haven't beaten it, but I'd like to share my thoughts on it. I can't think of a better reason to do a review than to share my thoughts on it. So we're going to do a video review of Pokemon Black version 2 for the Nintendo DS. Ah, Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all. The series that's been going strong since the 90s, that has been the hit series of the Game Boy and its successors, is back again with Pokemon Black version 2, which was released in the fall of 2012. Black version 2 has a few firsts for the series. First of all, it is the first direct sequel to a previous version. All the other sequels, or additional additions to the series, haven't been direct storyline sequels and were either rehashes or completely different storylines. Black 2 and White 2 actually continue the story of Black and White and take you a few years into the future as to see what happens after your hero defeats Team Plasma. The storyline is interesting, and they definitely throw a few curveballs at you into the usual Pokemon mythology. One of the most interesting is that you can actually merge two legendary Pokemon together to make a super Pokemon. Okay, it's really just a new form of an old Pokemon, but still, it's cool. In addition to that, there are a few little changes that were made that definitely add to the experience. Your rival has returned, that you can actually custom name, and he has his own little storyline and own little thing he goes after. He's not really a rival, although he kind of is. More so, someone who follows you around. He's that annoying kid who won't shut up. Although, at least you have to say that his cause is noble. The game plays out very, very much like Black and White, with not really many differences. The graphics look a little bit better, and of course the storyline is upgraded for the sequels. But other than that, if you enjoyed Black and White, you're going to enjoy Black 2 and White 2. Of course, the endgame content is what really sells it. Once you beat the entire game, there's a ton of new things you can do, legendary Pokemon to capture, and of course, new areas to explore. There are also some really interesting new gyms that add to the experience, and a few familiar faces from Black and White also return in new roles. So, I do heavily advise, if you are new to the Pokemon series, don't start with Black and White 2. Go to Black and White 1, beat one of those. You don't have to beat both. Then go to the sequel. Overall, Black 2 is an extremely enjoyable game that plays very similarly to the other Pokemon games, but is unique enough to give it a little bit of kick. We award Black 2 a B+, or very good. Alright, so that was our quadruple set of reviews. We did 4 different ones. Hope you enjoyed them all. Hope they were informative. Hopefully you got what you came for out of them. So, last but certainly not least, we're going to talk about next-gen consoles in our sequence entitled Next Gen Talk. Okay, so for today in Next Gen Talk, we got some interesting features for the Xbox One that were revealed today from Comic-Con in San Diego. I know that seems like a kind of odd place for new console features to be unveiled, but I mean, I guess they figured, well, Comic-Con's going to have all these nerds or cool kids, and so they'll want to know more about the new systems, so we'll tell them information. Anyway, Microsoft reveals some cool little features that really help make the Xbox One feel a lot more next-gen, as opposed to current-gen with the Xbox 360. One of those features was specifically for Killer Instinct. Now, for those of you who don't know, Killer Instinct is actually a revival of an old series by Rare that they made before Microsoft bought them. It's being revived for the Xbox One exclusively. And the interesting thing about it is it's going to be free to play. You will be able to download the game for free over Xbox Live, and you can play with one character for free. You will have to pay for additional characters, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So think of it as kind of a full version trial, but you can only use one character. I think that's a cool concept. Anyway, that's not the next gen feature we're talking about. The feature is regarding controller outputs. So let's say you and your friend are playing Killer Instinct, and one of your other buddies decides they want to jump in on the action. Well, using the Kinect One sensor, the Xbox One Kinect, the system will be able to tell that your buddy is taking over if he has a profile already on your Xbox. So when your buddy takes the controller from you, it will automatically change the controller layout to how your buddy likes it. That's pretty cool. That's not exactly something you would see nowadays, and it's something that's really only available because of Kinect. So that's a cool feature. I have another really cool feature for Kinect I'm going to talk about in just a minute, but I'm going to save that for end because it's really cool. Anyway, so that's one feature. Dead Rising 3, which is one of the big launch titles, is one that we will be getting and be doing a play test of, or test drive, when we do our big Xbox One blowout episode, which I cannot wait for. That's going to happen sometime in November. We're going to have all kinds of stuff, but I'm not going to talk about that now. Dead Rising 3 looks awesome, and there are some really cool features for Dead Rising 3 that are only possible on the Xbox One. First of all, Kinect can hear everything that's going on around you. So if you want to distract a whole bunch of zombies, you can just yell and they'll come running after you. That's pretty cool. Also, if you want to be stealthy, don't have your really loud friends running around with, drinking and partying in the background. You might want to wait to play until they're gone. In addition to that, the anatomy of zombies is being much more realized. They're becoming more realistic. So when you've got a zombie, it's actually going to look like an actual human body and not just blood. So real life gutting of zombies, yay! There's also all kinds of different specialty zombies that have special traits, such as their football player zombies, or cop zombies that kind of know how to use a gun. There's also going to be 2 different modes for Dead Rising 3. You can either play in the Nightmare mode, which is basically the same as Dead Rising 1, which if you haven't played Dead Rising 1, it's very difficult, and you will probably want to beat your head multiple times with the controller because of the save system. But if that's your thing, if you like difficult games, then you'll probably really enjoy the Nightmare mode. or you can just sandbox it. You won't have a time limit to do your missions. You can literally just wander around the world and do what you want to your heart's content. That's a really cool option. It basically gives the game more of an RPG feel, because you can do your missions if you want to, or you can go beat up a bunch of zombies or make some crazy weapon. All kinds of things that you can do in Dead Rising 3. One new feature that was suggested at Comic-Con today uses Smart Glass. Now, if you don't know, Smart Glass is a companion app for the Xbox systems. Currently, they have one for Xbox 360 for smartphones and tablets. So with Smart Glass on the Xbox One, you can actually set up lobbies for multiplayer games while you're playing a completely different game. The example they gave is, let's say you're playing Dead Rising 3, you're killing zombies left and right, and your buddies want to play Forza. So you can set up a lobby using Smart Glass and continue playing Dead Rising 3. You don't have to back out, don't have to go to a home screen, don't do anything. When your buddies are ready to play, there will be an alert that will pop up on your screen. So that means if you want to quit, you save your Dead Rising game and pop into Forza. That's really cool. It'll help you save time, and that way you're not going to be sitting aimlessly in a lobby hoping that your buddies show up when you ask them to. So again, really cool next-gen feature. Here's the one that I'm probably the most excited about. This is regarding avatars. Now I know what you're thinking. Nobody really likes the avatars. That's not entirely true. But the avatars have been kind of gimmicky since they debuted on the Xbox 360. Not so much with the new avatars. The biggest thing is, some games on the last gen try to map your face onto characters to more personalize them. Rainbow Six Vegas was a prime example of this. That's kind of cool, but they usually look kind of distorted and strange. So with Connect 2, they're going to try to do it a little better. Actually, quite a bit better. You can actually create a 3D model of your face and use it as your avatar. It will also keep track of your body mass index. So if you're, a bigger guy, your avatar will be a bigger guy. Some of you may not like that. I'm sure you can change it, but still, it allows you to create more of a realistic avatar as opposed to kind of generic looking one. Mine's pretty generic as it is. I tried to make him look as much like me as I could, but you can only do so much. Another really interesting feature, which you could find either cool or creepy, is it will map your facial expressions onto your avatar. So if you're doing really well at a game and you're really excited, it's going to show on your avatar's face. If you're not doing well and you want to break your controller in half, that's going to show up on your avatar's face. So it's a way for your friends to see what your actual mood is when you're playing a game. Again, that's really cool. There's all kinds of really awesome new features that Microsoft is revealing constantly for the Xbox One. The system launches sometime in November. We don't know anything beyond that. They said they're going to talk about the launch later on this summer. Hopefully it'll be soon, because everybody, especially myself, want to know when the thing is launching so I can get some time off so we can do our Xbox One blowout episode, which is going to be awesome. Anyway, that was next gen talk, and that's going to do it for this, I'm sure, very, very long, overly drawn out episode of BigCTV. But hey, at least we had a lot to talk about and a lot of things to see. So before we end, here's a quick recap of all of our reviews and their letter grades that they received. Spring Breakers received a B, or good rating, because it's a visually striking film, but you may feel a little bit perverted watching it. Sick Puppies Connect received a B-, or decent, because although the film has some solid tracks on it, not all of them are absolutely stellar. R.I.P.D. received a B-, or decent, because it's an enjoyable film despite being pretty blatantly a Men in Black ripoff, and the enjoyable performances by Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Bridges are really what sell the film. Lastly, Pokemon Black 2 receives a B+, or very good, because even though it's much more the same, it has some notable improvements and continues the story of the previous Pokemon games. Alright, so that's going to do it for this episode of Big C TV. I'm Chris. Thanks for watching. Have a good week, and we'll see you next week for episode 5.